The alarm bells echoed through the corridors of Mars Defense Station Alpha as Captain Marcus Webb rushed toward the command center. His boots clanged against the metal flooring while emergency lights bathed everything in a harsh red glow. 23 years of military service had taught him to recognize the difference between routine drills and genuine emergencies. This was definitely the latter. "Report!" Webb barked as he entered the bustling command center. Dozens of technicians worked frantically at their stations while massive displays showed the outer solar system. What he saw there made his blood run cold. Lieutenant Commander Zara Okafor turned from the main tactical display, her dark eyes filled with barely controlled fear. "Sir, long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching from beyond Pluto. Initial count shows over 400 vessels of unknown configuration." Webb studied the display, showing countless red dots moving steadily toward Earth's solar system. Each dot represented a ship larger than anything humanity had ever built. The alien fleet moved in perfect formation, their technology clearly far superior to anything humans possessed. "Time to Mars orbit?" Webb asked, though he dreaded the answer. 68 hours at current velocity, sir." Okafor's voice was steady, despite the magnitude of the threat. "Earth Command has issued Code Black protocols. All civilian ships are evacuating the inner system, while military vessels converge on Mars for defensive positions." Webb nodded grimly. Mars had always been humanity's first line of defense, but nobody expected to face an invasion fleet of this size. The Red Planet's orbital defense platforms and mining stations would have to serve as humanity's shield, while Earth prepared for the worst. "What do we know about their capabilities?" Webb asked, moving closer to examine the sensor readings. Chief Petty Officer Jake Morrison looked up from his engineering console, wiping sweat from his brow. "Sir, their ships are massive. The smallest ones are twice the size of our heavy cruisers. They're using some kind of propulsion system we've never seen before. No heat signatures, no radiation emissions we can identify." The implications were terrifying. Humanity had barely achieved reliable interplanetary travel, while these aliens possessed technology that seemed almost magical. Their fleet could probably destroy every human settlement without breaking formation. "Sir," called communications specialist Rebecca Sullivan from across the room. "Incoming priority transmission from Earth Command." Admiral Patricia Harrington's weathered face appeared on the main screen. Her expression was stone-cold serious as she addressed the Mars garrison. "Captain Webb, I won't sugarcoat this situation. Intelligence estimates suggest this alien fleet could reduce Earth to rubble within hours of arrival. Your mission is to delay them at Mars as long as possible while we evacuate civilian populations and prepare Earth's defenses." Webb straightened his shoulders. "Understood, Admiral. How long do you need?" "Every minute you can give us might save millions of lives. The alien fleet appears to be slowing as they approach Mars orbit. Perhaps they want to study our defenses or demand surrender. Use whatever time they give you." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in heavy silence. Webb looked around at his crew, seeing fear mixed with determination in their faces. These men and women had volunteered to serve on the frontier, knowing the risks. Now they faced humanity's greatest challenge. "Listen up, everyone," Webb announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the command center. "We have less than 3 days to prepare for the fight of our lives. I won't lie to you. The odds are terrible. But humans have never backed down from impossible odds before." Morrison raised his hand. "Sir, what about the mining ships and cargo haulers in the asteroid belt? They're not military vessels, but they have some serious industrial equipment." Webb's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. "Morrison, you might have just given us our first real advantage. Get me a complete inventory of every civilian vessel within Mars orbit. If we're going to fight the impossible, we'll need to think like humans always have, creatively." As his crew rushed to carry out orders, Webb stared at the tactical display, showing the approaching alien armada. Humanity had always been the underdog, surviving through intelligence, adaptation, and sheer stubborn refusal to give up. They were about to discover if those qualities could overcome superior technology and overwhelming numbers. The next 68 hours would determine whether humanity remained free or became another conquered species, in what appeared to be a vast galactic empire. Captain Marcus Webb intended to make sure Earth's children would tell stories of human courage among the stars of Mars. The alien fleet had been silent for 12 hours, hanging in space like predators studying their prey. Captain Webb paced the command deck of the UNS Resilience, humanity's most advanced warship. Though it felt like a toy compared to the massive vessels surrounding Mars, the waiting was almost worse than battle itself. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," announced communications specialist Sullivan, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "It's coming from the largest ship in their formation." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a creature that made several crew members gasp. The alien stood nearly 8 feet tall with blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer under artificial lights. 4 arms extended from its torso, while 6 eyes arranged in pairs studied the humans with obvious disdain. When it spoke, the words came through their translation systems in a voice like grinding metal. "I am Fleet Commander Zekthul of the Kelvani Empire. Your species has been selected for incorporation into our dominion. Surrender immediately, and your deaths will be swift. Resist, and we will make your world suffer before we claim it." Webby stepped forward, trying to project confidence he didn't feel. "This is Captain Marcus Webb of the United Nations Space Force. Earth and her colonies are not for sale. If you want our worlds, you'll have to take them." Zekthul's 6 eyes blinked in what might have been amusement. "Your primitive vessels cannot hope to challenge the might of the Kelvani. We have conquered 47 star systems. Your species has barely left its birth world. Then why are you talking instead of attacking?" Webb asked, noting how the alien's posture shifted slightly. "Maybe you're not as confident as you pretend." The transmission cut abruptly, but Webb had seen enough. The aliens were talking because they wanted something more than simple conquest. Lieutenant Commander Okafor approached with her tactical analysis. "Sir, I've been studying their formation. They're keeping their largest ships at the rear while smaller vessels probe our defenses. It's almost like they're being cautious." Morrison looked up from his engineering station with excitement in his voice. "Captain, I've been monitoring their scanner sweeps. They're focusing on our military vessels but completely ignoring the civilian mining ships. It's like they don't consider them threats." Webb's mind began racing. The aliens had conquered dozens of worlds, probably facing similar defensive arrangements each time. They expected humans to fight like every other species, with pure military force in predictable formations. But humans had always survived by being unpredictable. "Morrison, how many mining ships and cargo haulers do we have in the belt?" 37 vessels, sir. Most are equipped with industrial plasma cutters, mass drivers for moving asteroids, and fusion torches that could punch through most armor." "And they're not reading as military vessels on alien sensors?" Morrison grinned. "No, sir. To them, we probably look like defenseless civilians." Webb turned to Okafor. "Zara, I want you to take a reconnaissance team out in one of those mining ships. Get close to their formation and gather intelligence. If they ignore civilian vessels, we might have our first advantage." An hour later, Okafor piloted the converted mining ship Prospector's Dream toward the alien fleet. The vessel looked nothing like a warship, its hull covered with industrial equipment and cargo pods. Her small team included Morrison and 2 Marines disguised as miners. As they approached the alien perimeter, Okafor held her breath. Massive Kelvani vessels drifted past like floating cities, their hulls bristling with weapons that could vaporize her ship instantly. But the aliens paid no attention to the small mining vessel. "We're inside their formation," she whispered into her communicator. "They're not even scanning us." Morrison was busy with his instruments, analyzing the alien ships at close range. "Captain, these vessels are incredible, but I'm seeing something interesting. Their armor is designed to deflect energy weapons and conventional missiles, but it might be vulnerable to sustained industrial cutting beams." "Are you saying our mining equipment could damage their ships?" Webb's voice crackled through the comm. "Not damage, sir, but if we could get close enough, we might be able to cut through. Their hulls like they were asteroids." Okafor maneuvered the Prospector's Dream between 2 massive alien cruisers, her heart pounding as weapons arrays passed mere meters from her cockpit. The Kelvani had conquered world after world using overwhelming force against conventional military tactics. They had never faced an enemy that would disguise warships as civilian vessels or turn industrial equipment into weapons. "Sir, I'm transmitting detailed scans of their fleet composition and defensive arrangements," Okafor reported. "But there's something else. These ships are beautiful, perfectly designed, but they're also predictable. Everything is symmetrical, logical, engineered for maximum efficiency." Webb understood immediately. The aliens built their ships like they fought their wars, with overwhelming technological superiority and conventional tactics. They had never needed to be creative because they had never faced a species desperate enough to try the impossible. "Zara, get back here safely. We have work to do." As the prospector's dream slipped away from the alien fleet, Webb gathered his senior staff. Humanity was about to fight its first interstellar war, and they would do it the only way they knew how, by refusing to fight fair. Captain Webb stood before the holographic display showing Mars and its surrounding space, now crowded with both human and alien vessels. The red planet's 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos, orbited slowly while asteroid fragments drifted in complex patterns around them. What the Kelvani saw as empty space, Webb saw as the perfect battlefield. "Morrison, status report on our civilian fleet conversion," Webb ordered, watching his chief engineer coordinate with dozens of mining captains via secure channels. "Sir, we've successfully converted 28 mining vessels into combat platforms. The crews are nervous but determined. Captain Maria Santos on the Iron Digger reports her plasma cutters are operating at 150% normal capacity." Webb nodded, approvingly. Santos had been mining asteroids for 15 years and knew how to make industrial equipment perform beyond specifications. Her crew of grizzled miners had volunteered to turn their ship into humanity's most unconventional warship. Lieutenant Commander Okafor approached with her tactical assessment. "Sir, the Kelvani have moved into attack formation. They're positioning their heavy cruisers for a direct assault on our defense platforms. They still haven't identified our converted mining ships as threats." "Perfect. What about the environmental factors?" Okafor smiled grimly. "Mars is experiencing one of its seasonal dust storms. Visibility is reduced, and electromagnetic interference is disrupting long-range sensors. The Kelvani are having trouble maintaining formation." Webb had spent years studying Mars operations and knew the planet's weather patterns could be brutal, even for advanced technology. The Kelvani, accustomed to conquering worlds with clear skies and predictable conditions, were about to learn why Mars had always been humanity's training ground for impossible missions. "Signal all vessels. Operation Red Storm begins in 10 minutes. Across the Martian orbital space, 37 human ships prepared for battle. The official military vessels, 12 frigates and the heavy cruiser Resilience, took defensive positions around the orbital platforms. But hidden among the asteroid debris, converted mining ships waited with crews who had spent their lives working in the most dangerous environment humans had ever mastered. Fleet Commander Zek Thul observed the human preparations from his flagship's command center. The primitive species had arranged their ships in predictable defensive formations around their industrial installations. His tactical computers calculated complete victory within 2 hours. "Commander, we're detecting some anomalous readings from the asteroid field," reported his sensor operator. "Debris and mining equipment," Zek Thul dismissed. "These humans scatter their industrial waste everywhere, begin the attack." The first phase of the Kelvani assault unfolded exactly as their computers predicted. Energy beams lanced out from the alien cruisers, striking human defense platforms and military vessels. 2 frigates exploded immediately, while the remaining ships returned fire with primitive projectile weapons and basic energy cannons. But then something unprecedented happened. Captain Santos piloted the Iron Digger out of the asteroid field at full thrust, her mining ship's fusion torch blazing like a miniature star. The vessel looked nothing like a warship. Its hull bristled with ore processors, cargo pods, and industrial equipment. The Kelvani sensors classified it as fleeing civilian traffic. "All mining crews, this is Santos. Time to show these aliens why we work the belt." The Iron Digger screamed past a Kelvani destroyer, its industrial plasma cutter carving a glowing line along the alien ship's hull. The beam, designed to slice through solid rock, burned through the destroyer's armor like it was paper. Atmosphere vented into space as the alien vessel lost structural integrity. Morrison watched from the Resilience as 27 more mining ships emerged from hiding spots throughout the asteroid field. Each vessel attacked with equipment never intended for warfare. Mass drivers launched chunks of iron ore at devastating velocities. Fusion torches melted through alien armor, and industrial tractor beams yanked smaller Kelvani ships into collision courses with asteroids. "Sir, the aliens are breaking formation," Okafor reported with excitement. "They're trying to target the mining ships, but they can't lock onto vessels they didn't know were combat threats." Zekthul stared at his tactical display in growing horror. His perfect formation was dissolving as these impossible human vessels swarmed through his fleet like angry insects. Ships that should have been defenseless civilians were carving his cruisers apart with industrial equipment. "How are they doing this?" he demanded from his tactical officer. "Commander, they're using mining tools as weapons. Our defensive systems weren't designed to counter industrial plasma cutters or ore-moving mass drivers. The humans are fighting like nothing we've ever encountered." On Mars' surface, the dust storm intensified, creating electrical interference that disrupted Kelvani targeting systems. Human ships, accustomed to operating in Mars' harsh environment, used the storm as cover, while alien vessels struggled with sensor malfunctions. Webb watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The Kelvani had superior technology and overwhelming numbers, but they had never faced an enemy that would turn civilian equipment into weapons or use planetary weather as a tactical advantage. "Morrison, signal all ships. Phase 2 begins now. Let's show them what humans do when we're desperate." The Mars Gambit was working. Humanity's first interstellar battle was being fought not with advanced weapons or superior technology, but with the same stubborn creativity that had carried humans from caves to the stars. The battle had raged for 6 hours, and space around Mars was filled with debris from both fleets. Captain Webb gripped the command rail of the Resilience as another Kelvani cruiser exploded in the distance, its hull split open by the relentless assault of 3 mining ships working in perfect coordination. "Sir, we've lost 8 vessels, but the aliens have lost 17, reported Okafor, her voice hoarse from coordinating the chaotic battle. "Their formation is completely broken. They're fighting individual engagements now." Webb studied the tactical display with growing amazement. The human fleet, outnumbered nearly 10 to 1, had managed to destroy almost a quarter of the alien vanguard. But it wasn't just superior tactics or lucky shots. Something deeper was happening. "Morrison, patch me through to all ships. It's time they understood what they're really fighting." Across the human fleet, exhausted crews listened as their commander's voice carried over the communications network. "This is Captain Webb to all vessels. I want you to look around and see what we've accomplished. We're not just winning battles. We're showing the galaxy who humans really are." On the mining ship, Dust Devil, Captain Rico Valdez wiped blood from a cut on his forehead while his crew worked frantically to repair damaged systems. His ship had taken 3 direct hits from Kelvani energy weapons, but they kept fighting. When the artificial gravity failed, they secured themselves with magnetic boots and continued operating their plasma cutters by hand. "Captain Santos, this is Valdez. My targeting computer is fried, but my crew can still aim manually. We're going after that command ship." Santos watched through her view screen as the Dust Devil, trailing atmosphere and sparking from damaged systems, accelerated toward the largest Kelvani vessel in their sector. The alien ship fired repeatedly, but Valdez's crew had learned to use the asteroid field for cover, ducking behind rocks the size of city blocks before emerging to strike again. Fleet Commander Zekthul felt something he had never experienced in 47 conquest campaigns: genuine fear. His tactical officers reported impossible statistics. Human vessels that should have been destroyed hours ago continued fighting with damaged engines, failed life support, and jury-rigged weapon systems. "Commander, the human ship designated Mining 7 has lost main power, but they're still maneuvering, using emergency thrusters. They've been venting atmosphere for 2 hours, but the crew refuses to abandon ship." Zekthul studied the tactical readout with growing disbelief. Mining 7 was the vessel humans called Lucky Strike, commanded by an elderly female named Catherine Murphy. Her ship had been crippled early in the battle, but Murphy's crew had spent 4 decades mining asteroids in conditions that would kill most species. They continued fighting with backup systems and manual controls. "How are they still operational?" Zekthul demanded. His sensor operator's voice carried obvious confusion. "Sir, they've bypassed their main computer using personal communication devices. The crew is coordinating weapon systems through handheld electronics. It should be impossible." What Zekthul couldn't understand was that humans had spent millennia adapting technology for survival. When systems failed, they improvised. When equipment broke, they fixed it with whatever materials were available. The concept of surrender simply didn't exist when human lives were at stake. Rebecca Sullivan, the communications specialist who had joined the battle as a fighter pilot, streaked through the Kelvani formation in her modified interceptor. Her ship was too small to carry heavy weapons, but she had discovered that Kelvani vessels had vulnerable sensor arrays. She targeted these weak points with precise missile strikes, blinding enemy ships so the mining vessels could close for their devastating attacks. "Ghost to all fighters," she called, using her pilot call sign. "I'm marking targets on your displays. Hit their sensors first, then let the miners finish them." The coordinated assault revealed something remarkable about human nature. Each crew fought not just for survival, but for every other human ship in the battle. When the cargo hauler Big Sally lost her engines, 3 mining ships immediately moved to protect her, while Morrison's engineering teams worked to restore power remotely. Captain Webb watched this display of human solidarity with growing understanding. The Kelvani fought as individual units in a hierarchical command structure. Humans fought as a pack, each member willing to sacrifice themselves for the group's survival. "Sir," Okafor called out urgently, "the main Kelvani fleet is moving. Zekthul is bringing up his heavy battleships." Webb nodded grimly. The real test was about to begin. The aliens had finally realized they weren't facing a conventional military force. They were fighting a species that had crawled out of caves, survived ice ages, and reached for the stars through pure stubborn determination. "All ships prepare for the final assault. Show them why humanity earned its place in this galaxy the hard way." Fleet Commander Zekthul gave the order for maximum force deployment. The humans had proven more resilient than expected, but numbers and superior technology would eventually prevail. What he didn't realize was that he was about to face humanity's greatest strength, their absolute refusal to accept defeat. The decisive battle for Mars was about to begin, and with it, humanity's transformation from a single-world species to a galactic power that would be remembered forever. The massive Kelvani battleships emerged from behind Mars like metal mountains, their hulls bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Fleet Commander Zekthul had committed his most powerful vessels to end this embarrassing resistance once and for all. The human fleet, battered and reduced to 19 operational ships, seemed impossibly small against the approaching giants. Captain Webb stood on the bridge of the Resilience, watching as enemy vessels 10 times larger than his own heavy cruiser moved into attack formation. His crew worked quietly at their stations, their faces showing exhaustion but no hint of surrender. They had come too far and sacrificed too much to give up now. "Sir, incoming transmission from the lead battleship," announced Sullivan, who had returned to communications duty after her fighter was damaged. Zekthul's image filled the main screen, his 6 eyes blazing with frustrated anger. "Humans, your resistance ends now. Surrender and I will grant your species quick deaths. Continue this futile struggle and I will ensure Earth burns slowly." Webb stepped forward, his uniform torn and stained with smoke from damaged systems. "Commander, you've had every advantage: superior numbers, better technology, overwhelming firepower. Yet here we still are. Maybe it's time you ask yourself why. Your luck has run out, Primitive. Witness the true power of the Kelvani Empire." The transmission ended as the first battleship opened fire. Energy beams the size of subway tunnels lanced across space, striking the orbital defense platforms and reducing them to vapor in seconds. The remaining human military vessels returned fire with everything they had, but their weapons barely scratched the massive alien hulls. Then Captain Santos' voice crackled over the fleet communications. "All mining crews, this is Iron Digger. We didn't come this far to watch these monsters threaten our families. Time for one last gambit." What happened next would be remembered throughout the galaxy as the moment humanity announced its arrival as a galactic power. The surviving mining ships, cargo haulers, and civilian vessels began a coordinated assault that defied every rule of space combat. Captain Murphy, whose lucky strike had been operating on emergency power for hours, aimed her ship directly at the nearest battleship's weapon arrays. Her crew of veteran miners, some over 60 years old, manually operated their plasma cutters as she flew straight into the aliens' defensive fire. "This is Murphy to all ships. These cutters opened the asteroid belt for humanity. Let's open the galaxy." The lucky strike exploded in a brilliant flash as Kelvani weapons found their mark, but not before Murphy's crew had carved deep gouges in the battleship's primary weapons. Immediately, 3 more mining ships followed the same suicidal attack pattern, their industrial equipment dealing devastating damage before the aliens could destroy them. Morrison coordinated the engineering teams across all surviving vessels in a desperate gambit. "All ships, overload your fusion reactors. We're going to turn every human vessel into a weapon." Zekthul watched in horror as the humans began deliberately overloading their own ship's power systems. This was beyond his understanding. No civilized species would sacrifice their vessels and crews so willingly. But humans weren't fighting like a civilized species. They were fighting like cornered animals defending their young. Captain Webb made the decision that would echo through galactic history. "All ships, this is Webb. Concentrate everything on the command vessel. If we're going down, we're taking their leader with us." The Resilience, her hull cracked and atmosphere venting, led the final charge toward Zekthul's flagship. Webb's crew worked with desperate efficiency, routing all remaining power to engines and weapons. Around them, the last mining ships followed, their crews singing old Earth songs as they prepared for their final mission. Rebecca Sullivan, back in her damaged fighter, provided targeting data as the human formation approached the massive Kelvani command ship. "Target their bridge tower. That's where their commander is located." The combined assault of 19 human vessels against a single battleship should have been meaningless. But the humans had learned exactly where to hit during hours of desperate combat. Their industrial weapons, designed to break apart asteroids, focused on weak points and structural joints. As the Resilience rammed into the command ship's hull, Webb transmitted one final message to the galaxy. "This is Captain Marcus Webb of Earth. Any species listening should know. Humanity does not surrender. We do not back down, and we will never stop fighting for our freedom." The explosion that followed destroyed both vessels, but it also crippled the Kelvani flagship. Across the alien fleet, surviving commanders watched their supreme leader's ship drift powerless and burning. The humans had done the impossible. They had defeated a superior force through pure determination and sacrifice. The remaining Kelvani vessels withdrew beyond Mars' orbit, their crews shaken by an encounter unlike anything in their empire's history. They had conquered 47 worlds, but none had fought like this primitive species that turned mining equipment into weapons and refused to accept defeat. News of the Battle of Mars spread throughout the galaxy within weeks. Humanity had earned something no amount of technology could provide: respect. The small blue planet that had seemed so insignificant was now known as the homeworld of a species that would fight impossible odds and win through sheer stubborn courage. Earth remained free, protected by the sacrifice of heroes who proved that the human spirit could overcome any challenge. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.